Okay, hello, we are live. We should be live. Enjoy the view of the coconut turtle for a second. I need to feed Val. I thought I had, and then I was sitting here staring at him. I'm like, no, maybe I didn't. And then I really wasn't sure. But because the memory wasn't kicking in, I was like, we might as well. He's gonna be getting his house cleaned here fairly soon. In the next day or two. Alright. So it is Sunday, which means it is art day. Let's make sure I don't have anything muted. Nope, we're good. Okay. Sorry I'm a little late. I try to go as early as I can. I had an alarm set for noon because I had to do a couple things to get dinner started. And I remembered the husband waking me up and saying, hey, I'm running to the store to get the thing that we needed for dinner tonight. I'm like, okay. He's like, so you know where I am when you wake up, and I'm not here. And I'm like, okay. The next thing I remembered was him walking in. And sitting a cup down, and I'm like, hey. And he's like, hey. He goes, which? And he was like asking me a question about something that he got. And I'm like, what time is it? He goes, it's like a little after 1. I was like, after 1? I was like, my alarm didn't go off again? And he goes, no, you turned it off a couple of times, even before I left. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I never heard it go off. And he goes, maybe you slept through it then. And he's like, I don't know, I heard it ringing. I was like, there's no way. And when I opened my alarm, it looked like it was set for tomorrow already. But when I went to pick up my Kindle where my alarm was, it was in the same place of where I put it down the last time I had it. And I was like, I don't think I could have pulled that off without remembering about it, because it wasn't next to me on the bed. If it was next to me on the bed, I'd be more believable that I had turned it off and not even woken up enough to register that I had done so. But I was like, no, there's no way. There's no way. He's like, you must have slept through it then. And I'm like, shit, I'm gonna have to change the... I mean, I am tired as hell. I did not sleep that well last night. Or this morning. I like slept a little bit. And then I was like blazing hot. And I was just so tired that I guess after I came back from going to the bathroom and finally got resettled, I just passed the fuck out. After he got up, I am still just tired. So for those that are new, we are following along with the Joy of Painting tutorials from Bob Ross. We are following along, or we have been following along with season 3 of the Joy of Painting for a while now. Because I don't have that much time to work on just this, especially now. Because of the time of day that I stream I'm only limited to between when I can get myself out of bed and my hard stop time in the afternoon. I have to go make dinner for my mom, and some days it's a little bit easier to be up early than others. Lately I've just been an exhausted hot mess, so we haven't been starting nearly as early as I would like, but that's okay. It's alright. So we are doing art 2 days a week on the channel, Sunday and Monday. And it looks like Monday I really have a hard stop time now because the boys are going to be doing something as soon as I'm done. Alright, so I do have a little bit of extra water kind of shining through in there, but I think that's gonna be okay because the beach over here is a little bit shallower, steeper, not quite as existent. But again, it is our world, as Bob says, so we're just gonna kind of put this down and see what happens. Now we are following along with needle felting this time. We've done 2 other sections in there, or follow-alongs in the past, where we've used actual paint. We did a series on wooden circles and a series on mini canvases. But I've never seen anybody actually follow along with his stuff while needle felting, unless I'm just not following the right circles, which, you know, could be. I'm not that well traveled. So I was like, you know what? Let's give it a whirl. Why the hell not? I am still working on the speed felt from the last project. I'm nowhere near as far along as I wanted to be on the editing of that because my hand decided to jack itself up. And I'm still working on getting that back under control. It's slowly getting there. My arm's still a little bit swollen, but it's not as bad as it was, so I've gotten a little bit done. I think I have got an hour left to edit through on the 3rd live stream session from that one. I know that's not very much when there was like 14 sessions on that one, I think, but I'll get there eventually. I've just been really distracted and busy lately. Okay, so we've got this coming on into here. Don't want this being too carried away over here. It is going away from us. I did notice on like the first 2 live stream sessions I didn't have the camera on the last project sitting quite right, and when I went back to edit it, the camera is bouncing and I was like, shit. I tried to do some kind of like stabilization on the video, and what I tried to do made it worse, so I had to undo it. I was like, damn it. It's like, well, we're just gonna have to deal with bouncy camera. I try to make sure I've got enough padding on this camera because it sits on my monitor, because I have like no room to rig anything, and it doesn't clamp down on anything. It just has this like lip to sit on top of stuff. I'm like, okay. And since it sits on my monitor, sometimes when I'm doing this, my whole desk shakes. And I have like some paper towel or toilet paper or something wadded up and folded underneath of this like lip thing, this like U-shaped thing that hooks onto my monitor to try to absorb and protect the camera from any severe jarring. I mean, it still shakes a little bit when the husband walks by and goes out the front door because of the floor over here, but usually that trick secures the camera a little bit, so it's not too bad. But I guess I had it situated in just a way where I didn't realize that that was going on until I went back and edited. It looks, the video looks pretty stable right now. It doesn't look like it's bouncing too much. So that's good. Alright, that doesn't look too bad. I mean, I'm a little thin in there, just a touch. So, a lot of people do needle felting with roving. That's the main thing that you do it with. I do it with acrylic yarn and roving. I have a very limited amount of roving on hand, and I generally can't afford to buy roving in the amounts that I would need to do this. And it doesn't come in as many colors, at least from where I've looked to try to get it from, as I would technically need. I mean, I could buy a huge box of white and try to dye it, but then there's the game of, did I dye enough? And I really don't want to play that game and get involved with trying to dye the roving, because with my luck, I'd do something wrong and my fingers would end up getting dyed while I'm using it. So I'm just like, yeah, and I really don't have the space to let it dry because of the cats and everything, so it's not like we have a garage that's enclosed that I can just shut the door and let it drip dry out there or anything. We only have the one bathroom, and it's hell trying to keep them out of there. So it's just less of a hassle to do the prep on the yarn than it is to even think about attempting to dye the roving for me. So it's just like, yeah, and then it might be just as expensive to try to dye the roving. So I'm like, then you have to get the dye, and I'll just get the yarn. That's fine. You do have to brush the yarn out from its twisted yarn plied state. It's not too bad. It's a little time consuming, which is why I try to have Ziploc bags of yarn fluffed as I buy the yarn, so that way at least I have the color ready ahead of time. Sometimes that works in my favor, sometimes it doesn't. It does take up a lot of room to store because I have the yarn stored, and I have the bags of pre-fluffed yarn. Pre-fluffed, already fluffed yarn. But those aren't too bad. I just like nailed some, put some nails in the wall and tied some sort of cording, string, whatever. Kind of made like my own little clothesline against the wall. And I've got about 3 different levels of that, and then I've got all my little yarn bags attached to the wall. So that way the other yarn, like the balls of yarn that haven't been fully fluffed yet, can be stored somewhere safely where they won't get dirty or the cats won't find them. Okay, so yeah, I take some Ziploc sandwich bags and just throw them in there. It's just easier, keeps it clean. Alright, so we've got like our sandy colored in there. So then he comes back in and he takes this like grayish tone that he made, I think, which is probably just some white and some of the Van Dyke brown mixed together. The closest thing I have to that is probably going to be this taupe color. Now I'm using 2 different brands of acrylic yarn right now. I'm using either Big Twist Value, which is the line name from Joann Fabrics, or I'm using Paintbox Simply Chunky at the moment. Both work fine. So, I mean, whatever you need to do, or if you have a different brand that you'd prefer. Those brands I just kind of ended up with because they were on sale. That's all it is that they were on sale. So, I tend to go to the school of less is more when I am first putting this stuff in, because I can always come back and add more. Doesn't have to be the absolute perfect amount, so if I'm a little unsure if I have the right amount, I will like back off a little bit and reduce how much I've actually got in my hands. And then kind of go from there. So he's got this kind of running up the dark sections of the dirt a bit. So that's what we're gonna try to do. And in this area, it's gonna be okay if there's some like splits and thin spots through this gray color. So we don't want it to be fully solid coming up the slope here. We want some of that base color kind of seeping through in spots. Oh wait, I forgot I pulled out this big chunk. I mean, I do have a little tiny bit of roving, but it's like small little like floss size bags, and it's assorted colors, and I can't reorder those colors because it came in like a color assortment. So I'd mainly picked those up to see if I even wanted to do this, because I was like, that should be enough colors to see how I really feel about this medium, I guess we'll say. And I took allergy medicine before we got started too. Oh, it's been a rough one allergy wise lately, I tell ya. They evened out a little bit and then they just kind of started taking off again. It's been pretty dry lately. We got a little bit of rain early this morning. Our local weather people kept going on about how, oh, we're gonna have storms, or some might be severe, and I'm like, oh shit. And I'm watching the weather in Oklahoma as it's trying to slowly make its way in, and they're talking about baseball-sized hail out there, and I'm like, oh fuck. And finally fell asleep, and it had just started to rain, and that's all we got was rain. I don't even think we got a rumble of thunder this morning. I was like, really? I was like, weather guys, the amount of stress and anxiety you're inducing lately. Like the night before, they're talking about storms moving in again, and I'm like, okay, and they're like, some could be strong to severe, and I'm like, oh shit. So I was kind of waiting up a little bit, trying to see what they were gonna do, and they finally got here. It rumbled like once or twice and fell apart, and we didn't even really get that much rain, and I'm like, we really need the rain. I really don't want the severe weather, but we really need the rain. So if you could finally figure out what the hell it is that you're trying to do here, weather, that'd be super great and awesome. Okay. So is this section gonna be like perfectly blended so it looks more like it's coming down into all sorts of things and stuff? Probably not. But, you know, we can do our best here. It's got a little bit more gray coming out and down into here. Now, I'm not gonna fuss too much with this section here, because there's gonna be more ground going in over top in this area down in here, so it really won't matter, because that edge was probably just gonna get covered up anyway. So I hope you guys are having a good weekend. Hope you're staying cool. Alright, I need a little bit more. Not a whole lot. Do need a little bit. Where are you? Get out of there. I should be able to replace this mat sometime this month. I probably won't be able to get the grooming comb yet though, because I need to like the shetty comb, because I need to pick up a pouch of white gouache, which kills me because for the amount of just the pouch of white gouache, I could be halfway to another set, but I don't necessarily need the other colors yet. But I think white is what I'm gonna end up burning through the fastest here, so I'd really like to get like the mega color set, but that's gonna have to wait. That's a little bit pricey right now. That might have to wait till, I don't know, closer to Christmas at the very least. I have no idea what to do for the husband for his birthday. He's not big on celebrating his birthday. And with us not having a whole lot of funds at the moment, it makes it even harder. Cause he's all like, no, I don't want anything, don't do anything. He keeps trying to, like, dry out food in the oven for the crabs. But he has to have, like, a fan on, and it has to be on, like, the lowest setting, and the door has to be slightly cracked open. I'm like, why don't you ask for, if my mom asks you what you want, why don't you ask for, like, a food dehydrator for Christmas or something? And he's like, yeah, maybe. We had to buy a specific, not that specific, but Russell picked up a bike tire pump, or a tire pump that had a pressure gauge on it for his mom's car, because one of her tires keeps losing air. We don't have the money to replace that tire. We still have 2 tires of our own that kind of need replacing, but the dealership was like, I don't know why they told you that. They're like, those tires are like this. They don't have to be replaced yet. We don't know if whoever did the service on our vehicle was just trying to upcharge or upsell the mother-in-law. She's the one that took it, and like freaked her out into a whole bunch of shit that they were saying needed to be done. Because when we took, because they had like our brakes in a certain color on the thing, and we were actually gonna get the brakes replaced or redone, and they called and were like, yeah, and they're like, these don't really need to be replaced yet. They're like, there's still a decent amount of wear left on them. And we're like, really? And they're like, yeah. They're like, we can go ahead and replace them anyway, but they don't really need to be done yet. And we're like, okay, I really wanted them done anyway. But husband's like, no, don't bother then. We were gonna still replace all 4 tires. 2 had previously been replaced, and the other 2 kind of need to be replaced, but they weren't that bad yet, so the husband held off and kept pushing me off, and then, you know, the money got spent elsewhere, and I'm like, those tires needed to be replaced, damn it. Remember, we were supposed to take one of our old tires and put it on your mom's car? But she's not here. So I don't know what they're going to do when she comes back, because I don't want her driving our car, because she's a terrible driver. Absolutely terrible. I don't want her behind the wheel of our car. And I don't know when they're supposed to be coming back. I don't know if it's like October or November. Russell's not sure if they are coming back this winter. I'm like, well, I don't know where the fuck they think they're gonna drive that thing around. They kept sinking in our backyard. We had to find like bricks and stuff to put under the tires. And even then they were still sinking, and we're like, we told you guys this backyard ground was soft in places. And the backyard's not level. So you can't be bitching that you're sinking in, especially when it's raining and we know how muddy it gets back here, and we tried to tell you. Only had to keep disconnecting everything and moving the damn thing every couple of weeks when they were dumping the tanks on it. Alright, so we'll work on getting this part in here. Sorry, that section didn't really look like it was worked in all that well. If you have a spot that looks loose and you don't want it to be that way, just go ahead and re-stab it. Fuss with it till it's back into where you want it to be. Hi, Momo. Damn it. Hi, buddy. Momo's here, you guys. What's up? Do you have to pee? Do you have to go pee-pee? Yeah? Alright, give me 1 minute. Okay. So it looks like we're going to be taking a puppy potty break. Alright, go ahead. I'll be right there. go ahead, I'm coming. You have to beep beep so I can come and get you. I can't get up with where you're standing. So it looks like we'll be right back. So go ahead and go potty, grab a snack, do what you need to do. I will be right back. Give me like 5-ish minutes. Alright, sorry about that. And when I was out there, the outside cat showed up and paid us a visit. And he really wanted some attention, and I felt bad because I'm like, buddy, I can't stay right now. I'm in the middle of things. I gots to go. Alright, so get this worked into here. I'm trying to put our angles in with this gray, or at least try to keep with it. It's a little bit difficult on this back curve. But it's still doable. He has food and he's clawing at our screens because the windows in our room are pretty, not quite floor to ceiling, but maybe above my head to like mid shin. And with our porch, he can just stand up on his back feet and claw out the window to get our attention. So I think he's mad that I wasn't out there with him, or I didn't come back. And I'm like, dude, I looked on my way back in. You still had a bowl full of food. There were flies trying to eat it. It was dry food. But we don't have so much dry cat food that we can just be constantly dumping it here. It's like, if you have a home, they need to fucking feed you. He's got some place he goes, because he'll vanish for like a day or two. And then he's back. Really wanted to record painting last night, but I just could not muster up the energy. Like, my brain's like, yeah, let's go, and my body's like, who's this? No. I almost went to bed super early last night, and I'm kicking myself for not doing so, because I was so tired for like half an hour, 45 minutes, and I just really should have went to bed right then and there. Did I listen? No, I was stubborn. I was like, it's too early for me to go to bed. I'll be awake at 3 a.m. And then what good is that gonna do anybody? Usually I'm in bed or getting ready to head to bed, unless they're doing an art live stream late that ran over. I do the painting live streams when I do them late, because I don't have to worry about anything interrupting, usually. Because Momo knows when Dad goes to bed, we're not going outside anymore for the night. Because I don't take him out there by myself. There's occasional coyote sightings in town, or around different parts of town. You can hear them hunting some nights, and he's a small dog. He's like 20-ish pounds. If that. Might be like 18. And I don't want to be out there by myself at night. We have raccoons, possums, occasionally a skunk stops by. Every so often we get a bear sighting in the area. They don't seem to hang around. They just seem to travel through. But still, I don't want to be out there alone in the dark. I mean, I have a flashlight, but if Russell's in bed asleep, he's not going to hear me yell. We are on the main road, but even around like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, there's some nights where you can hear a pin drop out there, and it's kind of creepy. Especially coming from where I grew up, where it was the land of noise constantly 24/7, which was super creepy. We lived under the flight path for the Atlantic City International Airport back in Jersey. So you were constantly hearing Spirit Airlines, which was like the only airline at the time. Well, that's not true. Delta was there for a while. And before Spirit Airlines came in, I think there was a couple others. But Spirit seemed to be the one that stayed there the most, or the longest. And Delta was there for a little bit and stuff. So you would hear, and then, there'd be the occasional military cargo plane going over, because attached to the airport property was a National Guard base. And a fighter wing division. And so there was constant noise. Just constant noise. Like, not like non-stop takeoff one after another. It's not like it was a big airport. It was a smaller airport, but you would hear planes going overhead, and we were just in like a regular flight path too, so planes, going to different destinations, you would hear flying overhead. And so when all the planes were grounded for 9/11, it was so eerie. I think that was the scariest part of it all for me. And the really unnerving part was, because like we were several hours from New York City. Like, we were fine where we were down in South Jersey, not quite as far south as Cape May, but pretty far south. So we weren't really affected in the general sense about what was happening up in New York. But when they grounded all the planes that night trying to sleep, the silence was so just unnerving. It was so quiet because there was no planes flying overhead getting to their destination, going from like New York to Florida or whatever, and riding the coastline, because we were, on a barrier island. We were kind of close to the coast. And it was just weird because, it was constant noise. Like, you'd hear you know, all the planes flying overhead, I mean, and things were normal, and then they weren't. I had such a hard time sleeping because it was so quiet. And then all of the sudden, the quiet was ripped open once you finally started getting used to it. Or you were able to try to start ignoring the quiet. It would just be shattered because then all of a sudden you had an F-16 or F-17, whatever they were using, just rip through the night doing their patrols up and down the East Coast. That I think made it worse because then you heard them. There was no other sounds really happening to distract your brain from hearing them, and they were so loud in the total quiet. It was just wow. And then when we moved here, there's like some traffic noise. There's a good amount of traffic noise during the day because we're right on the main road. And granted, we don't have the screeching of the New Jersey Transit buses' brakes slamming on as they notice people waiting to get on the bus at the stop, or somebody hitting the thing that they want to get off at the next stop. But at night, the traffic really dies down and it gets so hauntingly quiet out here. It's really bizarre. I'm definitely not a country girl or a farm community girl or whatever. I mean, we didn't grow up in the city, but it was definitely the suburbs. And on the edges of Atlantic City. And I know Atlantic City is nowhere near as bustling as like Philly and stuff. I get that. I know that. But Philly was not that far away. It was like 2 hours to Philly. Hour and a half. 45 minutes depending on if you were speeding or not. So you know. Or, you know, taking the train. I mean, we had the train too. But it was just so strange. So I get a little unnerved by the quiet. And then here, we're not really normally in a flight path here. There is an airport. There's an airport in Fayetteville, but it's more of like a small private plane airport. And then there's a bigger regional airport. Oh, where the fuck is that? I think it's in Bentonville. I've flown into there, I think, 2 times. Yeah. It was very small. It was much smaller than the Atlantic City airport, or at least it felt that way. But Atlantic City was made for international flights. They just didn't seem to have any flying in and out of there. Because, you know, most people just went to Philly. But they could handle the larger planes the size of their runways. But a lot of people just went to Philly, and I'm like, but you've got a lot shorter of security line to deal with here, and then you don't have to drive an hour plus and deal with Philly bullshit. But if there wasn't an airline doing your destination in Atlantic City, you kind of had to. Which kind of sucked. Now, I was fortunate the 2 times that I flew into here, Northwest Arkansas Regional Airport, that Delta was still at Atlantic City. So I didn't have to go to Philly, which was definitely fortunate because that was not a commute I wanted to attempt, especially not on my own. I would have had to like hire a car to take me up there or figure out the transit system. Which I wasn't real keen on, although I think I could have taken the train to 30th Street and then there might have been another train from 30th Street into the airport, but that was going to be a bit overwhelming for me at that point in time, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. But here, you really notice when a plane goes over. It's weird. A lot of the times, it's like the little single prop Cessna planes or whatever. Sometimes you'll hear a jet engine. Sometimes. So it's kind of like, oh, I wonder what's going on, because they diverted flight paths over in our direction. Probably due to winds or whatever. Once in a great while, we'll have a bunch of like Black Hawk helicopters go over. It doesn't happen too often, but when it happens, there's like 3 or 4 of them when it does, so it's definitely noticeable. And a lot of times they're passing over on their way to the Little Rock base. I'm not sure if it's just a regular army base or if it's a air base or something. What do you have?
Some are pretzels.
Oh, okay. For some reason, it sounded like you were eating cereal. No, we can't tell I'm hungry at all. Not at all. Alright. We'll get this kind of stretched out here. So, I mean, you can kind of see it coming in. It kind of looks similar, kind of, to, Bobo's here. Just trying to get our piece small enough here. And this is why I was saying I wasn't going to worry too hard about the seam where the our sand color and the deep dark dirt color were going to meet up, because we have this other color is kind of sort of going to be laid over the two. And that is why we have finger protectors, because sometimes you can miss where you want to go. Especially when you've got your hands all up in there. Even if you don't think you're gonna do it, it can happen. And it's hard to convey it across a screen, but these things are very, very sharp. They kind of need to be for what they do. So don't play around with them, they're not a toy. And they are slightly delicate. I mean, it might depend on the gauge that you're using, but they can snap. Just why I'm saying you have to be careful that you go in and out and not like drag it. You have to actually go down and up and then move. Because if you try to drag it while you're still on the downward thing and you're in there, you will snap it. At the very least, if you're lucky, you'll only bend it, but you know, more than likely it will snap. So make sure you respect the sharp object. And honestly, depending on what you're working on, you might want to have safety goggles on. Because I've had a couple of these snap unexpectedly. One got caught on my microphone when I was flinging my hand around, and I didn't even realize it and snapped. One or two snapped while we were stabbing into the pad, and the needle went flying. One of them went flying right past my eyes. So, I do wear glasses though to see, so you know, it might be something that you should consider. Safety glasses, goggles, something. I mean, that might be going a little over the top, but then again, you know, you only get one set of eyes, so that's gonna be your call. With as much as a klutz that I am, I definitely am gonna at the very least push the finger protectors. I really want like a whole glove, but then I don't think I'd be able to grab anything. I really should get like a third one. But it's generally 2 for these 2 fingers. Because usually, you know, the thought process is, oh, well, you're holding your little figurine that you're working on, because most people use this to make those. And we have made a couple of figurines in the past. Nothing too grand or anything, but we have. I've really got to figure out what the hell we're gonna do for Christmas gifts, because depending on what we're doing, I might have to start them soon in the background. Don't know if we're painting this time. I mean, we could, but I don't know. I think Num Nums was mad I didn't stay outside with him.
Yeah, well, he's been desperate for attention, but...
Like, he followed me and Momo to the front door, and I ducked my head back, and there was food in his bowl. There was a bunch of flies in his bowl, but there was food, and I'm like, buddy, we don't have cat food that we can waste right now, because we're getting really low ourselves. We're gonna have to get that in the next couple of days. And, I came back in, and then when I sat back down, he started clawing at the screen. I was like, buddy, I'm in the middle of stuff. I can't just come out there and sit with you right now. Oh, those flowers are going to be 40% off again this week. I saw the email. And it looks like it's the regular ones too, so
The regular ones.
not just the fall ones.
Oh, okay.
I'm kind of mad because I should be getting paid this, or verified this week, but I think by the time I actually get the money, the sale's gonna be over, so I'm like, damn it. Just can't seem to catch the sale, but that's okay. A couple other things I need to get anyhow. Like, we really need to get our new mat. I mean, this one's working, but the lumps are starting to bug me. Because then our thing doesn't sit flat. I might not get rid of it. I might hold on to it for an emergency, but we'll see. Alright, so we'll finish. Thank you. Doing what we were doing. Over here with our beachy stuff, and then we're probably gonna advance the tutorial just a little bit and see what we've got coming for this next part here, because I'm not entirely sure what we've got coming up next here. So you can kind of scrape your loose fluff into a better spot, but for the love of God, scrape the surface. Don't dig in and move like we talked about earlier. So want to gently touch the surface just to, if you need to re-maneuver a few strands if you're just not happy with where they're quite sitting. Alright, there's one spot here. I kind of want to fuss over. Just because of the way it was sitting there. on the shoreline. So this section didn't get as many breaks as I was originally hoping, probably because I have it a little bit thicker than I generally do when we're trying to get the breaks to show up through it. But while there are some breaks in it, it's still a little bit solid there, so we might be at a good spot there. Alright, so that is where we are currently sitting. So we're kind of caught up to Bob now, at least at the moment. Well, I kind of feel like maybe this needs to come out a little bit more now that I'm looking at it, because he's got it a little bit grayer in there, right? And I feel like if I don't do it now, kind of thing, am I gonna be mad about it? Probably. Good chance, at least, anyway. That is a thick spot. Either that part of my pad is a little bit stiffer, or that particular area of fluff is laid in there pretty heavily, because I can feel the bit of resistance there. Here's the question. How far out do we want to take this part? I mean, we probably shouldn't do it too far out. But at the same time, it does need to be just a skosh thicker, I think. Cats are being dumb behind me. Okay. So I think we'll try to bring this up just a little bit more. We don't have to bring it up too much. But yeah, definitely needed a little bit more of something in here. Alright, so that I'm feeling a little bit better. Then we have to put just... See, this is the thing, right? You touch one spot. And then the rest of it's like, oh, hi. What about us over here? And it's like, what about you? Let's see. About getting this a little more filled in, a little more evened out. Alright. So now I think all we really have left to fuss is this section up here. And I'm trying to gradually, a bit unevenly, but gradually take it up there. We might almost be there, but it still has a bit of a hard edge in there. So I'm trying to carefully, subtly. Subtly, carefully, I don't know. Trying to maybe taper it a little bit without making it too blatantly obvious. So we can stagger the unevenness of it. It'll probably look okay. And that might have been the last bit that we needed in there. Yeah, that's not bad. Now remember, I'm going to have more brown coming up here. Maybe we should just use this last piece. Like around in here. Now, if I can't get that blended in enough, I need to go back and grab that other bit. But that might be... Nope. That looks just terrible enough where I know I'm not going to be happy with it like that. Since I just couldn't leave well enough alone in that spot. Or at least that's what it would seem. Alright, so we'll get this re-secured into here. So again, we are following along with the Joy of Painting tutorials from Bob Ross. This is from season 3. It is episode 7 that we are currently following along with, called Quiet Inlet. Okay, so we're going to end up advancing the tutorial here. and seeing what Bob has in store for us next. Okay, so he added trunks to these two trees, right? And then he okay, so we kind of already did that. We put in this whole row here. Oh, he kind of brought that down all the way. That's okay. So what's he doing now? He's mixing. What is he mixing? Oh, we're gonna highlight now. Like a yellowy green. He's coming back in on these two trees. Or at least this tree. In spots. Well, most of it. You gonna touch the other tree? Okay, that one has more of a yellow ochre look on this one. Alright. I mean, we can do that. That shouldn't be that much of a problem. And he's gonna kinda highlight some of the other shrubbery. Here and there. Wait, can we get a close-up of that? Because, okay, he did it next to it. Swear from the pulled back angle, it looked like he just covered the trunk entirely. And I was like, damn it. Alright, so he's kind of got some of it coming down onto the shoreline too. Like down into the dirt sections. Alright, so we're gonna be playing a bit with our other colors. I'm gonna have to go get the other colors, actually. I have them, I just have to grab them off the wall. Okay, is he not doing anything with that big ass blob up here? Are we still just ignoring it? At the moment, it seems like we are. Oh, we are gonna put a trunk on it. That's a really... Tell me you're gonna fill that in. Okay, that's a little bit better. So let's say that trunk's kind of weak there, Bob. Okay, so we kind of take some branches on up into there. Alright. Just kind of taking this as far as we can so that we can see what he's doing here. And then okay, he has the slightest bit of highlight on that tree. Like the absolute slightest. Is he not gonna highlight the tree itself? Oh, my footrest. Okay, he does. Alright. Well, okay. So I need to go and grab one of our other bags of color here. So give me just 1 second. Shades of like similar shade. I guess I'll grab the yellow too while we're here. Okay. Alright. So let's see. He used the green first, so all these guys we're gonna hang back up here. I have a little curtain that hangs next to me. That's what I'm hanging all of these on. Just to keep them out of the way. All the rustling plastic is me trying to figure out what I'm grabbing. So I'm hoping we have enough of this brown to make it through this, but I'm thinking I'm gonna have to fluff some more brown. I'm not real super confident we've got enough here to finish this piece. Whoop. So, gonna get our chunky guys here. Or at least that's what we're trying to do. Alright, so I know this looks a little thick for the size of the tree, but it's probably not gonna be. We're probably okay here. And this is probably gonna be a little difficult to see, because we're back to that dark on dark stuff here. And he didn't really spend a whole lot of time on these particular trunks right here. He just kind of plopped them in and went on his way. Oh, let's not stab ourselves with the scissors. That wouldn't be too good. It wouldn't be a surprise, but let's try to avoid that if at all possible. That would be a hell of a thing, right? Being so worried about stabbing ourselves with other stuff that we accidentally get ourselves with the one thing that ordinarily wouldn't have to worry about. Okay. Now these trunks he didn't do anything too fancy with. I can barely make that out. It was wild. Okay. So these trees were probably actually a little bit closer in his painting. That's alright. Ours can be a little bit different. I'm glad we are coming back and highlighting this guy though, because now that we've put that trunk in, we've pulled the fibers in that were next to it down a bit more than I think would be okay if we were just leaving it. We'd have to repatch that. Okay, so let's get that in there. I'm starting to get quite a few layers of fiber on here, so I just want to make sure that I'm brushing the back down and smoothing that out, just to make sure we don't have any weird things happening. Now we're probably not going to get to that tree trunk till tomorrow, just looking at what time it is and what all we still have going on here, but just going to tuck that bag and hang that back up on our curtain. Okay, so this is the slightly tricky part. This is a slightly different shade of green than the lime that's down there. This is light green, but I still want some of our other green kind of popping through there a little bit. So we're gonna have to see how this goes when we're attaching it. So we want to try to let some of that darker shade bleed through. Now I would have mixed this shade in with that dark green beneath it when I was first putting the tree in entirely, but Bob hadn't gone that far ahead yet. Maybe we should have, because it looks a little bit better when the shades are mixed together going down for the first time. So we're trying to fix our tree behind it. So that looks a little off there. And I want to try to keep some of that dark green shining through. Which can be a little bit difficult. Might have to extra fuss in spots. I'm trying to pull as small amount as I can. I'm trying to fan these out a little bit. Trying to keep a little bit of airiness in there. Sometimes that is much easier said than done. Especially when you've got two colors that are really close to each other. Trying to completely cover the tree trunk, but we also might accidentally end up completely covering the tree trunk. I originally wasn't going to go that far off of the edge of this, but I am seeing the subtle shade differences between the tree and the back, so I think we are just going to kind of overlap it and wing it and be like, fuck it. Let's go. Just to try to emphasize a little bit more that this guy is in fact in front. Still can't see his little trunky guy in there. He's there, I promise. It's like mind-boggling to me that they're already putting school supplies out. And July is like not even halfway over, but I keep forgetting that school starts here in the middle of August. This part of me is like, whoa, cool your heels. Let's just slow that shit down. But it's like, oh no, wait. They're actually not that far out to be putting that out there. Alright, so the whole tree section here with our highlights and stuff, that's going to take a little bit of fussing. So that's probably what we're going to end up spending most of tomorrow on, is highlighting our trees and shrubs and stuff. Right now I'm trying to figure out how far down we're gonna take this guy. Right, because there's some shrubbery at the bottom and we need to leave a little bit of room for our trunky guy. To be poking out here. At least a little bit. got quite the divot forming on this tree, though. It's kind of sinking into the background here. Alright, so that's probably as low as I really want to take that treetop there. So I know we still can't really see the tree trunk in here, but it's there, promise. Okay, so the tree next to him kind of got a little bit of the ochre treatment. Now I have like 3 different shades of inadvertently of like this ochre color. I think this is my darkest version of it. Let's see here. So we'll go ahead and we'll start adding this guy in here. See if we can get him to behave a little bit better. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. We'll see. Alright. Get this guy worked into here. You can see the actual purple shade on this showing up when my hand's in the way. So sorry for the color changing back and forth whenever I move my hand, but for some reason the camera does not like that particular shade of purple right now. And there's not really any software that came with this camera, which was odd, so I can't really fuss with the balance on it. But I do think this camera is giving me less trouble than the one I had previously. Maybe someday we'll be able to afford a better one, but cameras are expensive. Like, shockingly expensive. I'm not sure how much this one was. The husband bought this one. And it might have been on sale when he bought it, too. But this one's a manual focus. There's, like, no zooming in or out with this camera. I have to kind of zoom in and out on my workspace through OBS. Okay, so that's not doing too bad. I was kind of hoping the tree highlights would help rebalance that mountain in the background that just looks like a blob of light gray. But alas, that's not to be. That's a little bit on the heavy side. So yeah, sometimes when my hands are missing from view for a little bit, it's because I'm fussing with the fluff here, trying to get it into some sort of configuration that I want to put down. So I'm either like spinning it in a circle or thinning out the piece I grabbed, or we're kind of rolling it into a snake to tighten up the fibers I did grab. Or as I'm like maneuvering it into a slightly smaller bit, I'm like, oh, that's a little too much fiber because it's all laying on top of each other. It's not necessarily going to do what I want it to do. All of the things. Does make it go a little bit slower for getting those highlights in on these guys, but at the same time, if it's working towards how I want it to look, then, you know, it's worth it in the end. Don't give him too much trouble. It's been a decent amount of time since he west went. It's been over an hour. Do I need to get him?
No, just gotta get to a place where I can teleport.
He might be.
Alright, let's go check for albums. I know he's been trying to spot him in the
Like he was like staring almost like he was looking under the car for him earlier.
Yeah, he was trying to spot him at one point because he was in the bushes. I think he's trying to find him, like visually for fun.
He might be. Maybe they have a game going.
I know Arnold's used to love ambushing him.
Something about that Momo tail. Wait, Zuzu showed up too?
No.
Oh.
Ah, come on, Momo.
So this one's going in a little bit easier than the other tree. I think it's just me getting my footing back to doing trees again. Doesn't help that I want to take this highlight like all the way to the ground. Alright, I've really got to get back to working on our gouache series, but like I said, the mind's been wanting to lately, but the body's just like, are you out of your ever-loving mind here? It's just like, no. And last night I almost recorded it because he was doing zoo, but then I was like, no, then we're gonna have to edit it. And we've got enough editing shenanigans going on right now. I still have to edit another Diablo video. I really need to get back to editing on. I have it recorded, I just have to edit it. Like I said, my hand fucking taking a shit fit has not helped matters this past couple of weeks. Okay, so I want to leave a little bit of trunk there. Where did you come from? Alright, that's a little too long to... I mean, I could have tried to work that in, but that's okay. Alright. Probably shouldn't be grabbing another color at this time of day, but we're gonna grab just a little bit. We're gonna go just a few more minutes because I got up late and so dinner's gonna be a little behind anyhow, so probably gonna have to start mixing in some colors together too, but we'll probably worry about that tomorrow. Right now I just kind of want to get some base coloring on in here. Were we successful or had he left? Did we find the nom-noms or no?
I found them, Momo didn't. They were crouched in the side of the carport, in the bushes. They made a little nest there. Well, he used to have one in Nancy's bushes, but she cut them all down. So, and he used to be back by the shed, but I think this is closer to the food, and therefore he can, you know, be more defensive of it.
Maybe.
Because I haven't seen the other cats in a while.
Maybe it's more shaded,
I don't know.
more protected. I don't know.
I don't know.
It does explain why he keeps wanting to go over there, though. So we've got a little bit of our yellow shrubbing action happening in here. I don't want to go too far over our tree trunk there, but if we do, we do. Kind of situation here. I mean, I don't think he really, it didn't really look like they were highlighted. It just kind of looked like he dropped them in. I mean, he might have put a highlight on them, but it wasn't terribly apparent to me. Not like the big guy over there. So let's grab another little bit of fluff. Again, I'm going with the less is more approach here. Working on getting this section filled in here. It's a lot easier to add when I realize that, nah, I want a little bit more in there than it is to take it away. Okay, I got that. All right. And we'll see about dropping this guy into here. Section's going to be quite a large bit of shrubbery. At least for this particular spot. And we could add a second shrub in next to it. That's a slightly different shade just for good measure here. We could definitely do that. Maybe we will do that. Maybe we'll grab some of that lighter yellow ochre color I've got. Just to kind of break up the sea of yellow we've got going right there. And we'll grab a little bit more of the stuff. Okay. Whoop. Dropping my fluff. That's no good. Don't want to completely drop the fluff. Yeah, so some of the fluff and stuff is coming down onto the dark brown color. Alright. And then we might as well use up this last little yellow tuft guy here. Just to kind of work him in. And then we'll do a slightly lighter shade of that down in here. Next to this guy. And then we might take a little bit more of our lime color and then run that in front of those trees, like at the bottom of them. Like, it's hard to see, but the tree trunks are right here. Like, this tree trunk's right up against this edge of yellow. So then we'll work on getting another shrubbery in here, most likely, and then we'll take some of that, the lime green maybe, and plop it into there. But I don't know what color shrub that's gonna be yet. That might be a combo color. I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure that out tomorrow. That could be just some more of this shade in here. We'll see. But that is gonna do it for today, since that's all the time we have for working on things and stuff. We'll be back tomorrow afternoon. I don't know what time we're gonna start tomorrow. Hopefully by 2. Depends on kind of what we've got going on tomorrow. I know there's a couple things we have to go take care of. Those shouldn't take long, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, no, we made some decent progress today. We got our gray bit of shoreline in. We got our lighter sandy beachy color put in there. So I think we're doing okay so far. And yeah, we'll pick this back up tomorrow. So hope your Monday goes well. And until we're together again, have a good one.